We're at the 2011 Dallas International Film Festival with Alex Dawson and Greg Gregus. Thank you both for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us,
Yeah,
Carrie.
thank you.
All right, your film, Wild Horse, Wild Ride, is one of the centerpiece screenings here. So what is it like bringing this film to the Metroplex, which plays a very key role in the film?
We're both really excited to be here and to be included into this festival. It's, such a prestigious festival, and, what our film's based on, and having done a lot of stuff in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, it even meant, it brings a little more to it as far as bringing it here so people can actually see the film here and see a little bit of, Texas and North Texas and South Texas. So yeah, it was really, really exciting.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, because obviously, even though our film is filmed all over the United States, it culminates here in Fort Worth, and so it was great being at our screening yesterday because we were able to get a lot of people to come and see it who had been involved in one way or another in the event, and that was really, really special for us.
Sure. And can you tell me what the audience response was? Any particularly good questions that you enjoyed? Any good comments?
We think they liked it.
No, they seemed to really enjoy it. We ended up getting a standing ovation, which was, that was spectacular. You don't see that too often. And we had a lot of good questions with the Q&A afterwards, but I think my favorite question of the whole thing was there was this little girl who had this little hand recording microphone, and she asked me for an interview after the whole thing was done. She had to be maybe 10 or 12, and she asked several good questions that I had replies for, and then she just looked up at me and said, "What was it like to work with your wife?" That one stumped me for a second, and I stumbled, and I think I recovered all right. It was very easy to work with my wife. We've been doing it for a long time, but no one's ever actually asked me that directly. So there's something to be said for that youthful approach to asking questions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, speaking of, you guys work together. You've done it for a long time. So did you run into any unique obstacles? You were working with, essentially wild animals here, and there are shots at the beginning running wild on the range. There are shots in the corral at the competition. Was there any point where we said, okay, we need to take a step back here? This could get dangerous, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think, Greg, you're probably better off to answer that, but certainly, yes.
Yeah, there were several things along the way. I think one of the more interesting anecdotes was there was one character, Jesus Haragui, who was this character. He lives up in Wisconsin, in Door County, Wisconsin, way up north. And, he had this incredible way with his horse. And I remember being with him, I think it was on day 8. And I was with him in the morning, and we filmed all morning, took a little break, and came back in the afternoon. And he was just, the way he worked with the horse, the way he moved with the horse was just incredible. And I felt really comfortable. And I remember we were in the barn, and I kind of moved around to the side of the horse, and I kind of dropped down to get this low-angle shot looking up at the horse, kind of a hero shot of the horse. And Jesus said to me in his very gentle way, "Greg, you must be very careful. This is a wild horse." So I had this feeling of safety, but from that point on, hearing it from him, and seeing his horse, he was still very concerned about, this being a wild Mustang, and it was very easy for that to, for that feeling to drop off, that like with certain trainers that this horse wasn't wild anymore. Mm-hmm. Other trainers, I was definitely scared the whole time.
Sure.
Yeah, and from the get-go, we would shoot for the most part, outside the round pen. So we were sort of in a comfort zone, in a safety zone. But you just think about these trainers who are in there with these completely wild animals and have the courage to try and approach them and try and form this relationship with them. It's awe-inspiring because it was pretty scary at times.
Sure. And how did you find these trainers? Melissa, George, Wileen,
Right.
Jesus. How did you go about getting them to say, yes, you can come in and watch me through this very intense process?
Well, I think we started, with the list of trainers who were already, applicants to the actual event. So we had 100 people to choose from, and from there it was just about making phone calls. I mean, there were some people that we were able to do a little bit of internet research on, like WileenWilson.com gives you a pretty good sense that she's going to be, a pretty good character, a real rhinestone cowgirl.
Sure.
And obviously we really wanted a diversity in terms of gender, ethnicity, geographic distribution, age, and all-out personality. But I will say, going into this, we were obviously very moved and compelled by the premise, this whole idea of these individuals spending 100 days and taking these completely wild animals and forming these relationships and these bonds of trust. So we were so moved by the premise, but I don't think that at that point we had any idea how rich these characters were going to be, and how incredibly powerful they were going to be, and how funny they were going to be. I mean, we really feel so fortunate to have met such a unique ensemble of people, and they're pretty remarkable.
And to answer another part of that question, when we contacted Patty was very thorough in going through, who we were and what we were doing. And once we kind of got Patty on board and got Patty's trust and the Mustang Heritage Foundation's trust, that kind of opened the door with these people, that they were saying, okay, if they're all right for Patty and her gang, they must be all right. So that was definitely, as far as, getting us through the door with these people and not having such a hard time convincing them, we're going to come in and document your life, in some type of reality way. It made it a lot easier.
One of the things that I thought was kind of touching about the film was hearing how the trainers spoke about the horses, especially when they first brought them home, for the competition. I remember, there was never this is a bad horse, or this horse misbehaves, or anything like that. I remember George saying, well, he's feeling a lot of anxiety today. He's very frightened. It was always, almost like talking to a child. What was it like seeing those relationships form?
I think, there were times when, when the trainers got frustrated with their horses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no bones about it, particularly George with Waylon.
Sure.
But to see how far they're each able to come is it's remarkable. I mean, it's really, really remarkable, and it was incredibly moving for us. I mean, when we got to the adoption at the end, I think, both of us were filming through tears as well, because we had become so attached to these horses, and these trainers did such a remarkable job with these horses. I mean, we were able to, even us, we're not horse people, by the way, but we were able to ride some of these horses at the end. So
wow.
But I think it's incredibly powerful. It's incredibly powerful to see this love story transpire. I mean, that's really what a lot of these stories end up being, is this love story. And some are more sweeping romantic, and some are more like, oddball romantic comedies, where you have the two mismatched individuals sort of coming together and having to make it work. But in the end, that's what it is a love story.
Sure. It was also neat to see where some of the stories ended up going. One of the trainers that talked about, he battled cancer, and his motivation was he wanted to get back to the horses. And then another horse went on to become the SMU mascot, just...
Yeah, we don't want to give that away. So...
We'll cut that out.
Cut that out, Carrie.
We'll try. Well, thank you both so much for being here. Your film is a centerpiece screening. Oh, is there a website where people can go to learn a little bit more about it?
Yes, www.wildhorsewildride. And to find out more about the Extreme Mustang Makeover, if you're interested in training a wild Mustang yourself, you can go to extrememustangmakeover.com.
Great. Well, congratulations on the film. It looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Hope to see you guys back again.
Thanks.
Thank you very
Hope
much,
to be
Karen.
back.